Hi guys, welcome and thank you for tuning in for another video on my channel. Today we're going over my plate carrier setup. Now for those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I've had a ABS before and then switched to a FCPC, and right now I'm at a SPC. Now before we get into why an SPC and what makes my specific setup so special, let's actually look into my setup. I had to slightly adjust the angle here. Anyways, here's my setup. So starting on the front, which is arguably the most important and interesting side, on the top I have a FMA repro of the Juggernaut iPhone X mount, and in there I keep my one-piece earphone for my PTT. If you're interested on how I have that set up, I will link a video up here. And I use my phone in Airsoft for ITAC and seeing where I am on the map and where my teammates are on the map. If you're interested in how that works, I also have a video linked up here right now. Right besides that, I have my Baofeng PTT hooked to my UV32, which is right here. I'll go into more detail on that in a second. And that I have mounted with the clip that it comes with and just extra secured with a zip tie, because I love zip ties, either Velcro or normal. You should know this by now. And again, I have this hooked to this single ear headphone that I can put underneath my amps. Okay, moving further down, we have a replica Haley Strategic TRMP or triple rifle mag placard in the ABS version. So this directly mounts to the CRYE placard system, but it also is available with the buckle up version for Spiritus systems or Ferro stuff. And in here I just have 3 rifle mags, and in the middle closed up bungee part I have my multi-tool, because I no longer have a small pouch on the side where I can keep that, or because I don't want that kind of thing. And in the sides here I can stuff in more mags that can actually go all the way through, so I could, for example, pull it downwards if I had it flipped the other way. But for the extra LARP, I could also put extra tourniquets in here, or dead cord, or whatever, pick your choose. And down here I have a 8 Fields mini dangler that I use to mount a 8 Fields tourniquet pouch with just a tourniquet in here and a Sharpie. I don't know if you can see that right now. It's sticking out somewhere over here. And this is again just for the LARP. And you might say 8 Fields is kind of bad, and I can understand, it's an Airsoft brand, but I made 2 reviews on their products, which I'll also link up here. You can check these out. 8 Fields is surprisingly well. Like, I didn't even want them to be that good. Moving to the right hand side, I have a Spiritus or Ferro, I think Ferro GP, in which I just keep zip ties, a lighter, electrical tape, extra batteries for my kit, a lens wipe, miscellaneous stuff. And up here I also have a lens wipe just for faster access. However, this can get kind of dirty, so I'll only use it for quick wipe downs. Like, actual cleaning will be done with the clean lens wipe out of here. And then underneath that lens wipe I also have trauma shears, mostly just for the LARP, because hopefully I don't have to cut someone's clothes open. Yeah, behind that GP I have a small 3D printed knife just for melee kills and LARPing hard. And in the back here I have my UV32, actually in a radio pouch. You might ask, what the fuck, why? But this is just the pouch that I had laying around that could hold the UV32. So, work with what you got, start from where you are. Then on the sides I have side plates, mostly just to protect my ribs from getting hit, but also because they add a little bit more surface area to your carrier, so the weight can actually be distributed on your sides and not just on your shoulders. However, I have to say my setup is really light due to reasons that I will get into later. On the back I have a Ferro Backpanel replica from Kutak, and I have that mounted with the Ferro MOLLE adapters, also a replica from Kutak. And up in here I keep flashbangs that are 3D printed. Come on, if I can get it open. Yes sir. And I can reach like this. If I'm in a CQB environment, which is not a milsim game, I will take off the flaps so I have faster access to my grenades, and I can use them myself without a teammate having to grab them for me. And down in here I have just a Germany flag, but I can also stuff water, extra ammunition, whatever I need basically in there. And down here is my roll one, which just holds basic first aid, just to kind of take care of somebody in case there's an injury until the actual trained professionals arrive. And then on the side right here I have a quick release from the M Gear on AliExpress. However, I'm thinking about switching this up for a tubes adapter, because that way the tubes sit right here in the front and don't take up like 2 more MOLLE rows, which I could use for mounting pouches, for example, because that's annoying. And yeah, that's my whole setup, but let's actually get into why it's set up that way. Okay, getting into the why after the how, let's start with why I bought a SPC in the first place. This question can be answered with one word: airflow. You don't need real plates in Airsoft, I know, shocker. And if you ventilate those plates, kind of like the Novritsch plates or any other like ventilated airsoft plate inserts, you allow for way more airflow and also a way lower weight than actually like full plates, because you save a lot of material. Again, I know, shocking. So as you can see here, I have a 2-plate system basically with some aluminium cutouts. I know I could have used lighter material, but my friend had aluminium lying around that we cut to size, so it was basically free. And I just cut my dummy plates with a basic knife to ventilate them as well, with small vents in between the big holes to allow for even more airflow. But why a SPC? Well, the SPC in the first place is advertised as a really light, breathable, and low material plate carrier that doesn't soak up water or very, very little. And this is the sole reason why I bought it, because I sweat a lot, I wanted breathability, and I also didn't want it to soak up water like, for example, the FCPC did. That was like a microwave for my torso, which would get like soaking wet after like 10 minutes in the sun. And I found this replica SPC on ASVZ, a German airsoft forum, for like 40 bucks. So I was basically losing money if I didn't buy it for that price. But in the future, I might upgrade to a LV120 because that allows for more versatility with other kits and different kind of, attachments. Unlike the complete horror that CRYE has created with their compatibility, which is basically, 0. And the choice for the LV120 specifically is because of the fact that the LV120, if you look at it, also has that kind of net that the SPC has, and it's also laser cut. So that way we, again, get that nice breathability that I was, looking for in the first place. But the SPC was fine for now, and I'm still not done with fiddling with it and trying out all the possibilities in terms of setting it up. And at some point in the future, I will definitely do a, long-term review with all my experience put into that video. So as you can see, the sole reason why I bought the SPC is just to increase breathability, simply because I sweat a lot. It's summer, it's really warm right now, and my autism wanted me to, try this type of thing. Okay, airflow is good and well, but what about the rest of the carrier? Well, let's start at the back with the Ferro Backpanel while I built this carrier out for the first time, whilst binge watching Brass Facts. The Ferro Backpanel allows me to carry 3 grenades that are easily accessible by me in a fast manner without having to open any pouches, but also allow teammates to grab them for me when I'm, for example, in a, I guess you could say, milsim or LARP scenario holding a doorway. And to be honest, they just look cool. And the small zipper pouch on the bottom allows me to, again, carry miscellaneous stuff while not taking up too much space or weight. I decided against a water bladder in the back simply because this would go into weight again, and I personally do not need water bladders on most of the events where I go to, and I would prefer to just have a water bottle in like a spud pouch or like a pocket in my combat pants over a water bladder that needs to be cleaned and also gets kind of nasty after a couple days. I specifically chose the Ferro GP pouch because it comes integrated with a bungee to tie it down, so it doesn't snag on anything and takes up less space if you leave it empty or, with less stuff in it. And because of its shape, it also kind of complements how the body is shaped, thereby again making it less of a snagging hazard compared to, for example, CRYE GP pouches. And since I need most of that stuff like in a more fast access manner and less in like a, okay, I'm chilling at the fob, just doing nothing all day, I placed it very far on the front of my cummerbund to, again, just allow comfortable and fast access of all the stuff in there. And I should probably say that I have a Helicontext EDC organizer Velcro thing in there to hold all my stuff. I'm really glad that I set my plate carrier up to be breathable, because holy shit, it's warm and I'm already sweating. I would not want to know what that would be like if this thing wasn't set up to be breathable. Holy shit. Okay, when I was talking about my radio setup, you probably heard that I had that in a grenade pouch and also my right cummerbund, whilst the PTT is on the left side. Why is that? Well, originally I had my radio in a wing pouch where I cut a hole into the Velcro part, so the harness type insert thing of the SPC cummerbund could actually pass through it into the hole that it is made for. However, I didn't really like how that felt, and I just wanted to try a different method of mounting it, and I found that my grenade pouch could hold my radio. But since I couldn't do that on my right cummerbund, because obviously if you open up the cummerbund and you have the PTT still connected to the radio, you will rip out something or break the Kenwood mount or something. I switched to the right side, and while so far it's kind of unusual for me to have my radio on the right side, I like it so far, and routing the PTT through my plate bags actually makes it so there's no cable hanging around like it would be if I had it on the left side, where the cable would just be sitting somewhere folded into the actual radio pouch on the left side, which would again be more of a snagging hazard. But in the future I might change that up still again, but I'm trying to keep my radio on the front of my plate carrier so I can switch frequencies if I need to. Okay, but why the Haley Strategic Placard? Well, I went into this in the start of the video, but the gist of it is that it is very versatile in terms of what it can carry and how much it can carry, whilst still staying very, very slimline and not giving you a huge profile on the front of your carrier, allowing you to go prone very well and just overall not snagging on anything. Another aspect of this thing that I really like is how the cells of the magazines are really low compared to, for example, the K-Tar flap, the Doe pouch, or the Shaw Arc placard, allowing for easy access of mags, especially if you are like me and have a phone mount above your mags, and if you need to clear a phone mount high mag cells that aren't stretchable enough to actually, clear the phone mount, get really annoying, and you're just kind of in a bad mood as soon as you put that thing on. So again, the Haley Strategic Placard is really nice. It comes for either the CRYE placard system or just the buckle up system. And if you want a more in-depth review on different placards that I have used before, I'll link a video up here. And as I told you before, and you can see right now, you can use the left and right elastic mag cells to put your mags in, I guess, upside down, and when you reload, pull them downwards, which is quite nice because you already have a good grip on the mag for insertion and releasing the bolt catch, which is really nice and a cool feature. And to be honest, also, again, looks cool. I have to be honest, you guys. Like, we're doing this to look cool. That's why we LARP, bro. Like, who are we trying to fool? Genuinely. Anyways, how does the SPC perform in my very limited experience so far? So again, disclaimer, this is a very short-term review and the long-term review will follow in a couple months. But so far I can tell that the SPC is a really cool plate carrier. It has way more structure than, for example, a Slickster or CRYE JPC, whilst not being as bulky and or heavy as the AVS or CPC, which is a massive upside for airsofters because, again, we don't need to carry real plates or really heavy equipment, but some structure in our plate carrier would be nice. And while the AVS can carry way more load, it's also way heavier on its own, which the SPC really isn't, and it also allows for way more airflow. But also for people who need to carry like actual plates and more weight, the SPC is really nice. So if you're like, I don't know, prepared citizens or whatever, the SPC is also something you could look into. But every good carrier has a downside, and the SPC isn't a special unicorn that doesn't have downsides. Number one, and this is something that I care about, but a lot of people don't, surprisingly, the SPC doesn't have a shoulder release, which is really nice if you want to take off your plate carrier without taking off your helmet, or you just don't want to swim into your plate carrier every time you put it on for just, comfort reasons. But this is something that I personally can live with, but I would massively prefer to have, for example, the LV120, because that allows for, shoulder release, kind of like the AVS or the FCPC. Another downside is just the CRYE compatibility. CRYE is very stubborn with working with different companies, so getting anything on there requires a shitload of adapters, which cost more, add more bulk, weight, and overall just make it more flimsy. Another downside would be the cummerbund mounting solution, since the sleeves for the little harness things on the cummerbund on the front plate bag are comparatively low to where I would, for example, mount my cummerbund on the FCPC, because you want to mount your cummerbund as high as possible in the front and as low as possible in the back plate to allow for proper plate height. Topic that I won't get into right now. You need to mount your cummerbund really low on the back plate, which ends up looking silly because you need to extend those little cummerbund mounting things on the back plate, which is just really flimsy and looks goofy. I think it would have been better if they put the sleeves for the cummerbund in the front plate bag just a little higher, but to be honest, you can work around that, and it worked for me and also a lot of other people, so you'll probably figure it out too. So yeah, that's about it with my current opinion, experience, and things to talk about the SPC and my super airflow optimized gamer setup. And that's really it for this video. So yeah, that is everything I have for you today. Check out the description, check out all the links, join my Discord, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And until we see each other next time, LARP.